Hello. Um, I wanted to make a little sort of devlog kind of thing for this mod I'm working on, Woven Wilds, I have called it, because it originally came to me as an idea because I was watching a video on like old Minecraft stuff, and specifically, there were old cloth variants, one of them being spring green, very similar to uh, this texture. I made this on my own, sort of eyeballing the colors. I think I got it pretty spot on. I'm there's it doesn't look exactly like wool, like it's darker in some places it shouldn't be, and I'm gonna end up changing that. These are the old textures for the flowers. I don't know why they're still there. This is the new texture. I made them a little bit smaller. Still not perfect, but they're not a block big. So, they look more fitting for the environment they'll be in. Anyway, so I saw like this video that was like talking about old Minecraft stuff, and um, spring green wool was part of it, and I was like, I kind of want to add those wool types back into the game. I think that would be cool. There was a specific one, like a rose one, and maybe a different purple one. I can't remember, but there were a lot of cool ones. I'm planning on adding those. I want to 100% get spring green down before I do that, so I can use spring green as a template. Um, but anyway, I wanted to sort of come on here and document this in a way, my progress, my as I learn, because I'm using M Creator here actually to create a bunch of stuff, and I've tried custom coding. So far, none of it has worked. Beds are something that are a little bit trickier. Specifically, sheep. I delved into custom coding a lot. Took me a few hours to figure out exactly how to write it, and then it didn't work. So I ended up deleting all of it. Um, I want to try and figure that out. I'd really like to. I might ask for some help, or just like a template. Like, hey, give me something, or give me a rundown of exactly how to do this. Anyway, so this is on Neoforge. Ina asked me to put it up to Fabric, so I think I'm gonna work on that next and just port exactly what I have so far over to Fabric, so it's easier to add things as I go along instead of having to do it in huge chunks. I don't know if M Creator has like an option to where you can just port things over to a different version or what. Probably not, because things work differently. But maybe Fabric will end up being my friend, and it'll have a lot more of the features that I want it to have. Um, I was gonna look specifically at oh yeah, CurseForge. It's a mod page on CurseForge. I forgot that that's what I was gonna do. Um, I have three versions out. This is 1.0. I added the spring green dye and the flower to get it from the zinnia. I think that's how you pronounce it. And then the wool. Glistering melon as a block, so you can craft it into a block, or you can find it spawning naturally in the nether, crimson or warped forests, which I think is kind of cool. I made it to where it isn't chunk like based, where you can find it's not like flowers where you can find this many in this area, but it is like it replaces the mushrooms or the sort of foliage that's on the ground, like the stems and stuff. Not the stems, but the what's it called? Like the little roots that come up out of the ground. I don't know what they're called, the fungus, but they're not the fungus. Anyway, they replace those. There's a certain percentage chance for them to replace those, so they're pretty rare. I might increase um, the drop chances. I also made it to where you can carve the glistering melon. One thing that I'm really trying to figure out as well is wearing it on your head like a carved pumpkin. I know it's possible because you can put the block on your head like through commands. So like, anyway, I know it's possible. I just have to figure out how. You can also craft it into a glisto lantern, like a jack o' lantern, but not. Um, and then There was 1.1.0, which was yesterday. I changed the texture for the green spring. It's supposed to be spring green dye. That's a typo. Uh, to match the vanilla, like magenta and pink and lime and those ones, because I really hated how my texture looked. Um, I made it to where carving blocks worked a little bit better. There isn't like a use animation whenever you click on it, which kind of sucks. Maybe I can figure that out. But there is, it used to be whenever I added the carved glistering melons to where it would always check, it would always let you use an item, any item on the glistering melon, be it a block or a tool or a piece of food or anything, and then check if it was the right item, not check if you're holding the right item and then let you use it. So it took me a while to figure it out. But next update I added, or I guess this update, yeah, I added carved melons, and I was sort of trying to add it in there, and there was something going on to where I ended up just switching around the code because it was easier. Um, to like format it that way or something. And maybe I was watching a video or like I saw like a template or something. I can't remember what it was, but I was like, why don't I just switch this and try it and see if that works? And then it did work. To where now you can place, you can use any item. You can place your blocks down onto a glistering melon now. Still having an issue to where when you carve it, the face isn't facing you, but that is honestly a non-issue. It's just that'd be a quality of life thing. I would really like to get that to work, but it works, you know. So, um, and this one that I just put out literally like less than an hour ago, I decreased the glister liner's light level a little bit to make it just a different to the jack-o'-lantern. I added like sort of teeth to the carved melon texture. I had actually made that texture before I sent out the previous update. I just forgot to add it. I changed the creative tab icon to be the carved glistening melon because I like that texture. I changed all the flowers, as you saw, to be a little bit smaller. I also decreased their spawn rate because I've noticed they're literally all over the place. Like, I think like the amount of them you see in an area is fine, but there's I think I had it set up to like 7. The max was like 7 patches per chunk, and there was like 15 flowers per patch max. So I decreased them a ton. And that's it so far. So I actually haven't played it yet on just a regular world. And I'm gonna launch it and show it off. Look, here we go. It's a little laggy for some reason. I guess it's probably just loading stuff in. So I would like to show off everything I've added in full resolution. So this is the new creative tab I just changed. This is it. You know, it's kind of, you know, it feels a little like I've done nothing when I'm looking at just the amount of stuff or the lack of the amount of stuff I've done. So I'm actually just gonna sort of show you, I think, how these work. Sorry, Minecraft music. And then I can get a glistering slice. Give me a crafting table. And then also give me a regular melon. And an axe. Right. So I couldn't make it to where it checks for, at least I can't figure out yet, to make it where it checks for shears instead of an axe. So carving is used with an axe right now. And let me craft, so you can craft a glistering melon with 9, just like a regular melon block. Or you can find it spawning naturally, just like a regular melon block. And I use the same texture, but took the colors from the rind of the glistering melon and tried to make it match it a little bit. I could probably make it more green, but I'm not totally against this. I kind of like how it looks almost like a pumpkin, like a version of a pumpkin. It's kind of orangey. It's not quite there. Orange pumpkin, please. It's actually very different to a pumpkin. I think it's a good middle ground, you know, between the three. I could probably end up changing it and like making it a completely unique texture, not just a melon texture, but there's no need to really. So I'm not super in a rush to do any of that. Anyway, so hopefully this just works right. Okay, that was the wrong face. So it dropped melon seeds, and I guess it's this face. So it always faces that way. It always faces that way, no matter what. Which is kind of annoying, but you can still pick it up, and it's rotational, so you can just pick it up and place it again, which is fine. Same thing with this. It'll always face that way. It'll always face that way. I really like the texture on this. I'm a fan of it. Not a big fan of the melon one. I'm sure I'll probably end up changing this in the future, but you know, who knows. Anyway, so I like both of these textures quite a bit, and you can take this. Let's grab a torch and just throw it in here and craft a Gallisto lantern, and it does output light as well. That looks pretty cool. It doesn't look as good as the jack-o'-lantern. In the sense that, like, this one definitely looks like it's glowing, you know? Mine, like, the eyes are lit up, yeah, but it looks it just looks different, you know? I can't really put it into words, but I think mine just isn't, you know, made by a professional artist, so maybe that's, like, the issue. Anyway, I'm pretty happy with these two blocks. I don't know if they'll change much over the course of me learning how to develop this. This one I can almost guarantee will get a variation. I'm not sure. I'm also not sure if I want to make it like a lantern or not. Because, like, you can see all the goop inside there. You know, that's kind of like my goal. Like, you could see all the melon inside there. I wanted to make it different to this one and that one. So I don't know. I think I will, if I can figure out how to make them wearable. I think I will make it wearable, at least. And you can have like a red view or something. I don't know yet. But I think that would be fun to figure out. Anyway, these are the 3 flowers. So far, I think I'm going to add more. I also still think I'm going to change the texture, but I don't know. I like the size a lot more. They used to be literally huge. Anyway, the 3 flowers, they can be crafted into dye. So this one can be turned into spring green dye. This one can be, you know, turned into red dye, and this one orange. Just like normal. If I look up the dye, it fits pretty well alongside the other ones, I think. I'm thinking I might end up changing the border colors just a little bit because it doesn't super fit well against the background, but not, like I said, not an issue. Other than that, have I added anything else? Oh yeah, wool. You can dye it into a wool. And I'm pretty okay with this texture. Like I said, there's like, if I get a just a white wool, I guess, for example, to like compare the two textures, there are differences, you know. Like for example, you see these 2 pixels right here? They're a lot darker than these 2 pixels right here. And I could probably make them, it's just small stuff like that, you know. Like this right here, it looks different to that right there. But again, it's kind of small and not really an issue. I had to just like go in it because there's so many different shades of color on this. It was really hard to pinpoint exactly what color was what. So like I'd start up here and I do like the darkest ones, and then I'd get down here, and like maybe I'd think this was the darkest one, or you know, it just gets a little confusing with the amount of shades, and I could have done it better and where I like compiled all the different colors or something and then applied them and changed them or whatever it might have been. But anyway, this is here. It fits pretty good with the or against the lime, and I think the cyan, light blue kind of too. All of these next to it kind of look, you know, fit the bill. I think they all kind of come from the same little category. Maybe not you, you know, but anyway. So far that's it. What I want to add, I spent a very, 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 very long time trying to custom code in like a sheep variant. So like if I take, you know, a dye and I go try and dye one of these sheep, it's just not gonna work. You know, I don't have that logic in there. Which is fine, but like the biggest reason I wanted to add these wool variants was to have custom beds and custom carpets and custom sheep too, specifically, and all that. And beds are doable. I know they are. They're a little bit more complicated than I would like them to be, which kind of sucks. I would like to just find a better way to do it, to like steal the logic from Minecraft or something. But I did find a mod that has their source code available. I think it's called Dye Depot, to where they also have different variants of sheep. Um, and I was gonna try and run through their code and like learn it, but it says it's all rights reserved and it's under a copyright by whoever made it. So I wouldn't say I got spooked. It's just like I want to respect that and not, you know, unintentionally overstep some of those boundaries. And so I just closed it and tried to figure it out on my own and failed to do so. But that's the goal. I would like to, you know, surprisingly, M Creator doesn't have a logic to make carpets for some reason. You'd feel like that's just like a really simple thing. But you know, and maybe it is. You know, maybe I do just shrink the block down a ton, and maybe that's all it takes. But I haven't really looked into carpets yet. That'll be a cool thing to figure out, and probably pretty simple. Beds I do know are possible. I've watched people do them. It's just the logic looks like it's a 15-minute tutorial for a bed, and that seems pretty complicated, which means it'll take me probably 30 minutes to an hour to do it on my own. Other things that I would like to add, I think I want to add more carved variants of blocks, like a carved cactus could be cool. Wearing that on your head could be pretty cool. I know it isn't like a full block, but who knows? It could be interesting. I was also thinking about adding my own wood type, my own tree. I'm not sure what, but I would want it to be vanilla. Like I wouldn't want it to be like a bright blue wood. I want it to fit pretty well into whatever biome it could go in. Like maybe the swamp gets a new tree because those trees are just oak. So maybe we can give swamp a new tree or a mangrove or, uh, you know, maybe we can fit redwood instead of the taiga or something. I'm not sure. I have ideas. I want to finish the wool set. I would really like to finish the wool set because, like, you know, if we look at all the stuff wool makes, you've got wool and then you've got the carpets. I would also like to make dye variants, or sorry, concrete variants and even terracotta variants. That would be cool. I was thinking about it, but I'm focusing on wool first. Stained glass, I actually didn't think about. I could probably make a stained glass pretty easy. Maybe I'll add that the next update. Even maybe a shulker box, actually. We'll see. Beds, also absolutely. It's just like, because I've added a dye, I have to add, like, because every dye has a variant of this block. You know what I mean? Every dye has a terracotta. Every dye has a concrete. Every dye has a glass and a shulker box and a bed and a freaking candle, you know, and a banner. Uh, And I don't know how to make any of those. I haven't looked into making any of those. Glass, I'm sure will be really easy, but you know, I'm just spewing now. I really want to just not bulk it up, but just make it consistent. So like if I have the dye, then I have all of the spring green, sorry, uh, dyeable things, you know, and all the recipes for it and stuff. Uh, anyway, before I close it off, we could probably go. First of all, let me get some obsidian. Go look at like all of the natural spawning and stuff. I will say melons are very rare so far, so hopefully this doesn't take. Oh, hopefully this doesn't take too long to find one. I found them spawning. So I ended up changing the logic to where it also replaced the nether wart blocks just to see if it worked, and it did work. I ended up finding a bunch. But then I changed it to where it only replaces these mushrooms and this, the roots. And I still have found them spawning, but I think the only time I have... Oh, there we go, right there. The only time I have was in a 1 block chunk. Like, they don't spawn together, really. Which I think is fine. I'm not... it would be cool if it was like flowers and they all spawned in patches, but... You know. What can you do? That's cool that we found one that quick. I was worried it would take a lot longer because it in the past has. Let's see if we can't find another one just real quick. Nice striders. Yeah, there's another one. Okay, and there's another one. Cool. So they do, and there's another one, and there's another one. Dang, it's a nice little patch of melons. I'm okay with that. I think they you know, it kind of makes sense for them to be here. You make them with blaze powder. So I just headcanoned that they were nether, you know, some nether foliage. Uh, anyway, that's that. And I made it to where the orange and green zinnia spawn in savanna biomes. It should be really easy to find these. Well, I did change their logic, actually, to where they are rarer. This is a tiny savanna. Yeah, there's one. Just one. That's kind of funny. See if there's a couple right there. Where's the green ones? Some more orange ones. I made it to where the green ones are a lot more rare than the orange ones. Like a lot rarer. They have a maximum of 1 patch per chunk. And then like a maximum of 5 flowers per patch. So a maximum of 5 flowers per chunk. I may have to up... Oh, no, there's one. I do kind of like that it's a rare dye, you know. I'm not... I might up it to where it's a maximum of 1 per chunk, but maybe a maximum of like 10 flowers per patch. So like if you do find one, you find a lot. Yeah, because I am having... I mean, I've seen one. Having a little bit of a problem finding them, but... Oh, there's a couple there. Yeah, honestly, I think it's fine. I'll probably keep it how it is. And then the red ones spawn in a taiga. Locate biome taiga. I think a taiga or taiga, you know, variant. And these should also be fairly easy to find. It's just also poppies spawn in this biome, so that may conflict. I'm not seeing any flowers. This is also a tiny taiga. Oh, is that mine? I think it is. It is. There you go. Proof. Proof all of these things work. So if you were to download this mod, everything would just work. There are ways to get everything. You know, there's a way to get the dye. You can use that dye to dye the wool. And that's it. That's as far as that goes. The melons you can get or craft and then carve and then use as decoration blocks. There isn't much added, but it has taken me a while to add what I have added. And I'm hoping I can add more at a more consistent pace. I'm just thinking now because like the carved melon, it took me 2 seconds to add. Now that I've added the carved before, because I added the carved glistening melon. But you know, anyway, this video is pushing 30 minutes now, and it shouldn't have been because I've added like 10 items. But I like talking about what I want to do and having something to look back on, you know, in any sense. So anyway, thanks for hanging out and just listening to me rant for a little bit. The mod link will probably be in the description if you are interested. If not, you know the name. It's on 1.21.1 NeoForge currently. I'm looking at adding it to Fabric. We will see how easy that compatibility is. Anyway, I will see you guys next time, probably.